What's up, guys? Back here again with another video for you all. This one's going to be just kind of tips to help you if you're fishing BFLs as a co-angler. That's all I've fished really in the BFLs. I've only fished as a co-angler, and really co-angling is how I've fished most of my tournaments I've ever fished. But before we get started with that, I want you guys to see something. As you can tell, we're in the camper. They just moved us in here, and I want to show you guys where we're at. Right there is Kentucky Lake. So, might be fishing some LBL division tournaments after all, because hell, I'm that close to the damn lake, I gotta fish it, right? But anyway, let's get to it and get the phone set up here. So I wanted to thank you guys for coming in, watching videos here. And a way I think that I can show my appreciation, especially for anybody who fishes the BFLs, is give some tips on what you can do to improve your day off the back of the boat. To me, fishing as a co-angler is all I really know. I've only fished probably somewhere between 8 to 10 tournaments as a boater. I didn't buy my boat until July of last year, so every tournament I fished before that and all my BFLs that I fished strictly as a co-angler. My high school tournaments was as a co. All my buddy tournaments, local derbies, stuff like that, all I've ever fished is as a co. So I like to think I have a pretty good idea of what I can do on the back of the boat that somebody either may not be able to do as good as me, or just something that I can know that I'm going to put fish in a boat with. So first off, really the main thing to me is make sure you're downsizing your baits. Fishing off the back deck can be tough, especially if you're throwing a bait that's a big presentation, because to me, the guys that I've fished with, and when I fish as a boater, you see guys in the front throwing a bigger presentation bait, whether that be a big spinner bait, a half-ounce jig, anything like that. You're looking at a bigger presentation. So I like to try and downsize as much as I can. Me personally, in the BFLs, I throw a shaky head probably 80% of the time. I'd say that's really my go-to bait. And that depends on the lake too, guys. So some lakes you may have a better opportunity. You might be able to throw a bigger bait off the back deck, but this is just ways that fishing mountain division and fishing like my local tournaments, any tournament I've fished in the state of Kentucky or Tennessee, that's just the bait that I go to. And as you've seen in as you may have seen in one of my other videos, depending on which one I release first, I was not a shaky head guy. Didn't believe in using them, but and I never had any luck with them, so I just didn't tie them on. Last year, I became a shaky head guy. I threw that spinning rod all the time because that's just what I was catching them on. And I didn't necessarily just catch the smaller fish. So, you gotta think, if you're throwing a big presentation, yeah, you're gonna catch some good fish. But there might be a bigger fish that, not necessarily a bigger fish, but a good sized fish that don't want a big presentation. I managed last year, first tournament of the year, was the first weekend in March, and it was just a local derby. Water was chocolate milk. We went all the way up the lake, found a little bit clearer water. I managed to catch a 5-pounder on a shaky head. And I'll show the bait that I use here. This bait, man, I've had so much luck rigging it up on a shaky head, it's unreal. So, you can rig a lot of different stuff on there. You can rig crawls, trick worms, the hula grub like I showed. Really, it's just a versatile bait. You can switch it up what you're throwing, but still throw essentially the same thing, if that makes sense. Another key for me on the back deck not necessarily changing presentation, but change the bait completely. Don't try not to throw what the guy in the front of the boat is throwing. And there'll be days where that is, there's enough fish there and he's on them good enough that you can throw the same bait. Especially if a guy's live scoping and he doesn't care. You gotta kind of have a good relationship with your boater going in. But honest to God, a lot of them boaters, they're casting straight forward. If they're on a big school, they don't care if you cast not to the front of the boat, but that direction. Like, say he's casting here and the boat's pointed here. He's not going to say nothing if you cast over here. You're still casting forward, but you're casting forward and to the right of what he's fishing if he's live scoping. Now, I don't recommend just going out and doing that. I would ask the boater, like, hey, you're fishing there, do you care if I cast over here? 9 times out of 10, that guy's going to say go ahead. At least in my experience. Now, another thing that to me is a big key, don't key in on fishing every piece of structure that he's fishing. So if he's not live scoping, say he's closer to the bank and he's casting at rock, well, you're still going to have to cast at the rock. That's just a given. But look for something he's missing. If he's missing, say you got a lay down there, he misses that lay down. Or there's a tree in the water and you can visually see it with your polarized, which is a huge, huge key to have on the back deck. Say he misses it, there's a tree in the water and you can see it. Flip next to that tree. I don't care if it's 5 feet off the boat. I'm going to cast at every piece of structure that he misses because, again, in my experience, there tends to be fish on every kind of structure like that. If he misses it, he's going to understand, like, hey, I didn't cast at it. Sometimes they'll see it and not cast at it. So that's one thing that I like to look for. Another thing, but as I was saying, say you're fishing a rock bank, you see either a lay down or you're able to see where some bushes are in the water, something like that, and he doesn't necessarily cast at it. Especially if you're throwing a shaky head, don't be afraid to cast right up in it. Them shaky heads, as long as you're not going too heavy on a weight on it, I like to throw a 1/8 or a size up, which I, for the life of me, cannot remember what it is right now. I think it's a 3/8 maybe. Throw right up in there, right up in it. I mean, you might get hung up, but that's another thing. Make sure you've got more, If you're going to go in and throw a shaky head, say you've got 10 or 15 shaky heads in your tackle box, stop at a pro shop or a Cabela's or something like that, or Walmart if they got shaky head hooks. Get you an extra pack, keep them in your pocket, leave them in there all day. Because like I said, you're going to break off, and me personally, I don't like to be the co-angler that's going to ask my boater to turn around every time I get hung up. Man, if he wants to, that's cool. But I'm not going to ask you to every time I get hung up because, like I said, I'm casting right into that structure. I'm not casting to the outside of it, flipping the outside of it. I'm casting in it. So you want to make sure you keep some extras on you if you're going to throw that presentation. And this tip is kind of hard to do because you don't have control of the boat. But every chance you get, fish slow. Slow it down. If say he's burning a crankbait or spinnerbait, anything like that, and you want to throw a shaky head or a worm presentation, don't worry about how fast he's moving. Because as I said, say he's running the bank this way here, he's casting to the front. He's not worried about this shit to the side most of the time. So even if he's got the trolling motor up on 10 and he's bombing a crankbait down the bank, all you got to do, he's casting over here. Cast right here. Toward the front of the boat, but don't go past the front deck. Cast right here up the bank. By the time you have fished that bait out, most of the time, in my circumstances, the bait's back here by the time I'm reeling in. Cast here, bounce it off the bottom all the way across until it gets back here behind me. reel it in, cast here again. And I'm not saying do that every single time, because might be times you're fishing it out and all of a sudden you see a piece of structure and it's right here. Well, by the time you reel in, if you cast up here, the structure's done here. It's right in front of you. If you see structure, like I said, if he don't fish it or if he fishes it fast, cast at that structure. Let some line out. Let it get to the bottom, bounce it a couple times. Just fishing as slow as you can a lot of the times will add to your productivity for the day. You will put a fish or two extra in the boat by slowing it down. Another big key is having a good relationship with your boater. Honestly, that's a big key to me. Whether that be you give him, and this is the thing, if you're going to fish the BFLs, you probably need to make sure you have some extra money that you can give your boater for gas, because look at it as one of your buddies is taking you out fishing. At least to me, if my buddies take me out fishing, I like to give them gas money, or I like to put gas in the boat before we go, because hey, you're taking me out on your boat. You don't have to do that. So give them some extra money, 40, 60 bucks, whatever you can afford to give them. Just give them a couple 20s, and just doing that already lightens the mood in the boat. Another big thing that keeps the boater on your side, make sure you're good on that net. Practice up, fish some buddy tournaments, some local derbies. Just go out fishing with your buddies if you've got buddies that have a boat, and practice your net skills. Even if it's on 1 and 2 pounders, you know, on your local lakes. Practice up on that net, because that's a big thing. Those boaters, they're spending their money going out here to fish these tournaments. They're taking days off work. They're pre-fishing. They're doing everything they can to find fish before this tournament. And if they find them, they get one on, and you let it get all the way to the boat and get off, man, it happens sometimes, but that boater's going to be in a rough mood after that, after you lose a fish like that. So if you can practice up your net skills and really try and get every fish that he hooks up with in the boat, a lot of times that's just going to keep him in a better mood, and you're going to have a better day in the long run. So that really helps. So I think that'll do it for the video, guys. That's really all the tips that I've gathered in just 1 year fishing BFLs. Hope you guys stay tuned, see what we get into. I believe we'll have some videos. Me and Neil might be fishing making some videos here on Kentucky Lake. I found actually, my dumb redneck self has found a way that I can kind of edit some videos and add some stuff in, some pictures, videos, things like that to overlay with it. So may actually be able to, not necessarily in the BFLs, but during buddy tournaments and things like that, maybe able to make some fishing videos for you guys to watch us out on the actual lake. So hope you guys enjoy that. Hope you guys will stick around, see what we do on this channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.